All right. Hi, everybody. JT Cestkowski here with Status Coup. We are live outside of the Broadview, Illinois ICE facility. We have been on the ground here in the Chicagoland area for the past week, covering Operation Midway Blitz, which is an initiative launched by the Department of Homeland Security and ICE to crack down on what they're claiming is, crime here in the Chicago area by tearing apart families, tearing apart communities, arresting people here, profiling people in the Chicago area. And this facility here behind us, we're here with Marie Newman, former Congresswoman Marie Newman. We'll introduce her in just a second, but just so you get a sense of where we are. Right here behind us is the ICE facility, right beyond that fence. That fence has caused quite a bit of consternation here in the Broadview area. Just yesterday, you had the mayor of Broadview, the police chief, the fire chief, all come out and address the safety issues that are caused by this fence that ICE illegally put up here. There's court action about trying to get this fence taken down. The fire chief just yesterday saying that every day that this fence remains up continues to pose a greater and greater safety risk to the community, that ambulances aren't able to get through, fire trucks are not able to get through the streets down here. And of course, it's creating a flashpoint for where we're seeing peaceful protesters gather, but ICE responding with force. They're shooting pepper bullets, rubber bullets, tear gas in the crowd. Our own John, our cameraman, got tear gassed here on Saturday. So they're targeting the press. They are targeting peaceful protesters. That is all of the context leading up to the discussion that we wanted to have here with former Congresswoman Marie Newman. Marie, if you could just start us off by introducing,
Sure.
I've only introduced you as a former Congresswoman. Let's actually get your Chicago bona fides, the Chicago area bona fides. How long have you been here in the area? Where were you representing?
Sure. So I was born and raised in the Chicago area. I was the congresswoman from 2020 to 2022 in the old Illinois 3 prior to redistricting, which was effectively the south side of Chicago, southwest Chicago, and the southwest suburbs. I will tell you, this is just outside of my old district. But I have a history with this place going back 10 years because I was protesting with the Mercy nuns here for immigration rights. Immigration rights are not new to me. I was a protester and an activist before I went to Congress. So this is old stomping ground, let's say that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the reason that we are talking to Marie is because in all of the on-the-ground interviews that we have been doing with protesters out here, there was one couple, Katie and Jim Cestkowski, who called out former Congresswoman Newman as an example of leadership in this moment just because the Cestkowskis have been trying to encourage more people to come out and exercise their First Amendment rights to peaceably assemble, to demonstrate. And they called out Congresswoman Newman for actually being here. I believe it was this past Friday, correct?
That's right.
When you were last out here demonstrating yourself. Yep. So give people a sense. What did you see when you were out here on Friday?
Yeah, Friday was crowded. We probably had 300 or 400 people here. It got spicy. We got pepperballed. We were trying to prevent an illegal detention from actually happening. There were cars coming in filled with people, and we have no idea if it was an illegal detention or if it was legal. Because as you know, somewhere between 70 and 80% of the time, they're illegal detentions and abductions. They have nothing to do with law. They're law-abiding people. So this is our fear, and this is why we're all out here. And that's why I encourage everybody to be out here, right? Is Katie and Jim Cestkowski are exactly right, is that everybody's got to get out here, whether you are a huge proponent of immigration or not, because this is everybody's rights. This is free speech here, folks.
Yeah, and I'm going to emphasize there that, as she said, that you're asking for answers from ICE about these detentions that they're making. Many times they are doing so without any real basis. We know that ICE is profiling because the Supreme Court has allowed it. Right. And when you try to get those answers, you're met with force, and you're talking
about... Well,
and
the Supreme Court also in their ruling indicated that due process isn't necessary.
Yeah, in the United States of America, a country founded on the ideas of freedom, equality for all, due process, not necessary, says a Supreme Court. So when demonstrators last Friday were trying to get those answers from ICE, how did ICE respond?
Oh, not wow. They were cranky. I don't feel sorry for these individuals at all that are having to take these jobs. First of all, they're basically rent-a-cops. They're now down to just 6 weeks of training. And can I tell you, in a real administration where we have the Department of Homeland Security training, it's at least 10 weeks and can be up to 6 months. So this is ridiculous that they're being shoved through this crazy, rent-a-cop system and then shot out the other end, and then they wear masks. So for me, I don't have any sympathy for the people that are doing that job, because there's a lot of jobs out there that are unfilled right now. There's 6 million jobs unfilled right now in the United States. So go do a real one that's needed. So for me, their response was sort of ridiculous. I'm now hearing reports on that same day I was out there, but not when I was there, that they were attacking actual police officers.
Yeah, that is something that we have heard from the police chief here in Broadview, is that his own officers were being pepperballed, were being tear gassed as part of just trying to do crowd control and safety measures out here. And the police chief himself, when he tried to talk to ICE about that, ended up getting cursed out. He excoriated ICE for the way that he felt he himself was treated, someone who has, at least a degree of power in this community. So on that theme, I mean, what behavior did you see exhibited by ICE officers?
They were pushing and shoving, and then we got pepperballed when we tried to prevent one of the cars from entering actually on the other side of the protest, and they were screaming at us and all the things, right, and calling us names and the whole deal. And there's a way and there's a way. So under no normal circumstances in the U.S. would DHS officers be told and trained to yell and scream profanities, pepperball just because I moved, or standing in front of something. They're supposed to be trained in negotiation tactics, right? That's like one of their biggest training areas. And there's been no de-escalation. There's just immediately go to rubber bullets, pepper balls, pepper spray, and tear gas. So this just goes to show how incompetent this administration is and how incompetent Secretary Kristi Noem and all of her team is.
And we're going to talk about leadership. Like, that is the big theme of what I want this conversation to be about, is what should leadership look like in this moment from our federal government. But that includes our local. I also want to include our local leaders, our state leaders, and representatives on both sides of the aisle. Just because one party is out of power doesn't mean that they lack a voice or lack leverage to be able to try and extract some sort of change out of this administration. And I don't want to excuse folks with the excuse of powerlessness. Right. So we haven't seen a lot of elected representatives, aside from hyper-local ones like the mayor, the police chief, be incredibly outspoken, and especially not be here at the site to actually see it.
Right.
Why did you feel like it was important for you to be here on Friday? You're no longer an elected representative.
Right.
And, we can talk about maybe some of your history with Congress a little bit later, but why did you feel like it was necessary for you to be here at the site and actually see it and demonstrate yourself?
Well, I've been an activist for 30 years, right? So it's not even a thought-through process. You just go, right? It's an involuntary reaction to be an activist. So when they started having the Friday protests, I've been to a couple of them now. Last Friday I stayed for a long time because I felt like it was needed. I'm just one more voice, right? And so the activist in me propelled me to do that. So that's why I'm out here. But it also, as a former representative, I think it's important to show that everybody cares and we all have power. And let me just say, we're all leaders, right? We all can lead. Just because we're not super satisfied with all of the leaders in our area, whether elected or community leaders or whatever, you have power, folks. That the folks that are out here are all leaders. All these folks that come to these protests, they're leaders. So I just did a Substack column on this not too long ago, is that everybody can lead, because you know what? Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody.
But isn't that, I mean, we're talking about, anybody can lead. Isn't that just we're almost again just making an excuse for the elected representatives who aren't here, who probably should be.
Right, they should be here. But let me be clear. I know that Delia Ramirez from the new Illinois 3 has been here. I know Chuy Garcia from Illinois 4 has been out here, and maybe some others.
Yeah.
So those are our immigration leaders in the state of Illinois. I know that our governor is very concerned, and I think he actually has been out here too. So there are people that showed up, and obviously they have full-time jobs and they're fighting for us. So, but to your point, it should be all of them. Immigration is an inalienable right, right? It's one of the basic rights of our country. Mm-hmm. So every one of them should be out here, and in every situation like this, right? We're not the only state under siege, right? So I believe every leader in Congress and every local leader, state leader, county leader should be out and voicing that this is wrong, because this is wrong. That fence is wrong. What DHS is doing wrong. ICE is wrong. Tom Homan's wrong. Secretary Noem is wrong. All of them are wrong.
Because what's to be gained from being out here? Like you came out here. I assume that you found that an enriching experience, or we wouldn't be talking about you being out here today.
Right.
So for those leaders who haven't been out here, make the pitch to them. Like, what is to be gained from actually being out here, seeing this themselves, talking to these protesters?
There's a long pitch, but the headline is that we need to be in solidarity and in support of your constituents, because you are the representative for all your constituents, whether they're undocumented, documented, going through the process, natural citizens, naturalized citizens, whatever. It's everybody. It's all in and nobody out. That's what America is about. So the pitch is, get out here and be with your people.
What leverage do you see? I want to focus at least a little bit on Democrats here, because they are the party that's out of power, but ostensibly the ones who are opposing the Trump agenda that we are seeing, being executed right here on this street behind us.
Right.
What leverage do they have right now? What levers of power should they be moving to try and actually curtail this in some capacity?
Right. So there are things we can do. There are things we can do at the state, county, and federal level. So let's start with federal, right? I've been very disappointed in Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries, extremely disappointed. I was thrilled that they stood up to Trump last night, because that's what it's going to take. It is never a good idea to shut down the government, because people get hurt. They don't get their services, they don't get their paychecks, all of those things. Like, it's not ideal, but it was exactly the right thing to do. We must show that we have broad shoulders, we will stand together, and we will stand up against Trump, because bullies don't understand negotiation. They don't.
From having been in Congress, I think we see it in polling. A lot of people are upset with Leader Jeffries, Schumer. I want to, from your perspective, actually having been in Congress, to what extent is that a permission structure for other elected Dems to be able to throw more of the blame onto leadership? Like, I would love to push for more, but my leadership isn't for it. At least that's the perception as someone just out here on the street. How real is that inside of Congress?
That's correct. I think there are people that hide behind, well, Leader Jeffries and Leader Schumer aren't doing it, so I can't. I mean, guess what? This is a chaotic, never happened before administration. And we are living in a fascist government right now. Everybody has to accept and understand we are not approaching fascism. We are in fascism. They are taking away all of our rights. They are turning it into an oligarchy. It is an oligarchy right now. Can these things be reversed? Yes, but it's going to take all of us. And that means it takes all of Congress. So I am not giving anybody an out in Congress. Everybody should be out in their districts at these protests, being clear that you are not going to put up with taking our First Amendment rights away, taking immigrant rights away, whatever the rights, because they're taking away all of them right now. So get out there.
So I want to take a moment just to reset in case you're just joining us. We are here with former Congresswoman Marie Newman, who represented Illinois' 3rd district.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, I'm getting lost here in my own notes.
Okay.
But who represented Illinois' 3rd district, won election in 2020, and served a term in Congress, and has been out here at these demonstrations at the Broadview ICE facility in Illinois, just outside of Chicago. It's where ICE is basing a lot of their operations out of. We've seen a lot of clashes with protesters out here, and if I don't see any other media out here right now. There was maybe just one photographer I saw earlier who I am not sure where they disappeared off to. So it is just Status Coup on the ground out here, where there is an illegal fence put up by ICE across the street here in Broadview, where the local police, fire, mayor are warning about the abilities for ambulance and fire services to be able to get through in this community. But more importantly, where people are being they're using this building to disappear people off of Chicago streets, to tear apart families, to tear apart communities. And there's no other media outlet here. So if you support this on-the-ground work and showcasing stories of showing what it's like, what leadership should be doing in these moments, getting this sort of inside look at what Congress, what power Congress has in this moment, about just seeing what it's like on the ground right now. It's just a few dollars a month, a few cents a day to be able to support Status Coup. That's what keeps us here on the ground. And you don't see national media outlets out here at all. The only other, I should give at least one kudos. There is at least one other independent outlet. I'm not sure where she walked off to, but there is at least one other independent outlet that we've seen out here. But it's an independent outlet. CNN is not here. The New York Times is not here, showcasing the illegal activity that's happening here behind us. So, Congresswoman Newman, I wanted to back up and get just a little bit of personal biographical information about yourself.
Sure.
I wanted to, since folks were tuning in for the promise of, I think we kind of promised this on the talk of your calls for the potential for a general strike and what that can do in terms of activism right now. We will get to that subject here shortly. But I wanted to start with at least some of the meat of the issue, but now I want to back up and just talk about a little bit about you.
Sure.
I think folks would probably, your biggest national profile probably came from your displaying the trans flag outside of your office. Really quick, let's just run through that so kind of jog people's memories about who you are from when they might have seen that.
Well, certainly not had anything to do with making great change or creating a great law. It wasn't that. But I did stand up for the trans community. Full disclosure, my daughter is a trans woman, and there was a kerfuffle, and I think it was in 21, where Marjorie Taylor Greene, and God has a funny sense of humor with me sometimes, he placed Marjorie Taylor Greene across the hall from me, which, that dichotomy is very funny to me. So on the day that we were going to pass the Equality Act, she pulled a couple of procedural maneuvers that blocked it for the day, which was just unnecessary, and I thought it was wrong and cruel. So I took our trans flag and put it outside my office and planted it, and she took great offense to that. And then it turned into a whole ridiculous back and forth, and so she just showed the world who she was, that she was hateful, and she doesn't really like anyone. Name a group she likes other than white Christian nationalists. I don't know anybody she might like, right? So we are where we are. But yeah, that was a minor thing. We move on. Now, interestingly, this is how crazy Congress and the world is. Recently, she's had some opinions that I share, which in a world she and I have. So.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the world being flipped on its head with everything that has been happening here under Trump 2.0. One of those things that I want to kind of show just how far we have come is one of your first days in Congress would have been January 6th.
Yeah, my third day on the job.
Your third day on the job. I want you, John was there filming. He captured some of our cameraman John was there filming. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, we're gonna walk down by the fence line now because it seems like ICE is walking some people into the facility. It seems like their hands are bound. Of course, ICE is wearing the face masks that you have seen at just about every just about any public appearance that ICE officers make, concealing their identities, but not really shielding the identities of any of these people who are now being led into this facility here in Broadview, Illinois.
USA! 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 USA!
These protesters have been out here keeping vigil and documenting all of these operations that ICE has been doing out at this facility.
That lady's pregnant, needs medication, you fucking bitch! She needs medical assistance. You have none. And this is also the other part that we see of the activity down here
is these vehicles that look like they could be civilian vehicles that could blend in with civilian vehicles that leave the facility fairly regularly. We think that they are ICE officers going out to conduct raids and operations in the Chicagoland area. Former Congresswoman Newman.
Yes.
I don't really want to just. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, but I mean, I think that it provoked an emotional reaction from the crowd when you see people being led into this facility that has these blacked out walls. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they're going. ICE is not giving information. When folks like yourself come out here to ask for answers, you end up getting pepperballed. We've been tear gassed. What are the emotions that are going through your mind, your heart right now?
The reason I'm here is I'm furious. I'm furious on every level, is that they are not getting due process, which is one of our rights, and it is ridiculous that we are putting up with this. It is ridiculous that the Supreme Court has deemed that due process for some but not for all. It is ridiculous that Supreme Court is letting this lawless president and this lawless Republican Party execute an immigration program with. Tom Homan, the border czar, is lawless and against the Constitution. Secretary Kristi Noem is so there's a long list of my fury, if you will. But when I see this, it is heartbreaking. There was a pregnant woman who needed medication that was walking in just now, and she's not going to get her medication. Her family very likely has no idea where she's at because she was probably scooped up and disappeared. And we don't know if she'll stay here, if she'll go to another detention center, and we don't know if she'll be sent to El Salvador or to the Congo. We don't know where she'll be sent. So for me, I'm furious because that could be one of my relatives. So we should all be furious. These are our neighbors.
Yeah, your neighbors, your community members who are being ripped out of the Chicago area and disappeared into this system. We've seen hundreds of folks just disappear within this opaque immigration system. We've done a lot of reporting down at Alligator Alcatraz down in Florida, where recently many folks went missing off of ICE's records down there, as the Miami Herald reported.
Yeah. By the way, it's not opaque, it's blacked out, the system. You can't see anything. We have no visible. So, not to correct you. But we don't have anything. So,
I mean, we brought you here for your thoughts, so feel free to push back on me. I won't. I welcome it. So we're just kind of resetting here. We're going to have the rest of our interview with former Congresswoman Marie Newman, who represented Illinois' 3rd Congressional District here in the Chicago area. She won election in 2020, served one term in Congress. We're getting that inside look as to what power do elected officials have right now to be able to affect change to this immigration system, because we are in Broadview, Illinois. This is the ICE facility here in the community. There is a fence, an illegal fence that's been put up by ICE outside of this facility that they put up as protesters came out to protest Operation Midway Blitz that has been launched here in the Chicagoland area in recent weeks, which was the Trump administration claiming it was cracking down on crime in the Chicagoland area. But from a lot of the people that we have talked to and interviewed here on the streets of Chicago, they have said that they feel less safe here on the streets. So if you're joining us and getting this live look at this facility where we just saw people be paraded in by ICE agents who they themselves cover their faces and won't allow themselves to be identified. If you think that this is important work, please consider supporting what we do here at Status Coup. Again, we'll point out that there's very little in terms of media presence out here. You don't see the big national networks out here doing any real journalism on the ground here. So if you think that work is important, please consider supporting us. So what action should people be demanding in actually effective ways? As somebody who was a member of Congress,
that will work, right?
What actually got through to you and maybe swayed your mind as a member of Congress? What is the way to actually put pressure on elected officials to demand them to? What we don't want is to be excusing elected officials in this moment.
No,
they have
and
power.
They should not be. Yeah.
They have power even if they're in the minority. What is the best way to go about putting pressure on elected officials?
The headline is be loud, right? Is that do this, come to every protest you possibly can. I treat it like a diet, right? I do it every week. I do one protest a week. I make time for it even though I have a full-time job, right? So I ask everybody to include it in your daily week, right? Call your representatives, show up at their offices, whether they are Republican or Democratic, and require a meeting. Sit in the lobby all day and say that I'm not going to leave until you talk to me about immigration or whatever your topic is, right? You can email them. And obviously social media is the last resort. It's not as effective, but calling and showing up to a representative's office is powerful. They do pay attention. Lastly, I will say that it's a House rule that we have to document our calls. So they do know how many calls are coming in. They know how many emails based on topic. So make your topic clear, and you don't have to be great with legislation or understand the law at all. Just say, I'm angry about immigrants. I'm angry with a lack of immigrant rights. I am angry about healthcare, whatever it is. Don't worry about having all perfect vocabulary. Let them know why you're mad.
It's just about the volume.
Yeah,
a lot
it
of
is
times,
the volume.
I think for a lot of folks, it can a lot of times feel like you're just shouting into a void. But you're saying that it does get hurt.
It aggregates. And look, folks, there's no silver bullet. There just isn't. We do have lots of options. We can protest. We can push our Republican, Democratic representatives. We can push our local and state folks to speak up to those folks. It is the pressure that is created by all of the sources, right? Is that if everybody pushes, it works. And it takes a long time. You got to hang in there. You got to hang in there with it.
So you just referenced in aggregate it works, meaning as more voices pile on top of each other, you start to talk about that solidarity of action, the mass action actually working. That brings us to the topic that we really advertise this live as being about, and that is you've floated the idea of mass of the general strike and a general strike as a way to possibly exert real change. Just set up that argument for me.
Right.
Why is now the moment for a general strike?
Well, let me first, actually, in the spirit of cadence and sequence.
Sure.
October 18th, folks, we are having No King's Day in every town. I think there's well over 3,000 individual protests in locations throughout the U.S. You can go to indivisible.org or 5051 or Move On, name a group. They all are participating. So No Kings, October 18th. Be there, be it there. Now, why is that important? We have to build our protests, right? So every time it has to get bigger. So recently I just wrote an article on my Substack about this, and so what mass non-cooperation is and what we call a general strike is when people don't spend anything on a day and don't go to work. Now, that's scary, right? That's scary just in general. But the reality is that we're probably, obviously, hospital workers and emergency workers have to stay at their job that day. And if you get sick, go to a hospital, all the things, right? But if you can all stay away from specific industries, and we'll let you know what those are, it's very effective. So over the last 100 years, it's been done 3 or 4 times in the U.S., and usually labor leaders are leading us. So I think it'll be a convening of 5051, Project 5051, indivisible labor leaders and other activists coming together to create this amazing movement. And it works. It has worked in other countries. It has worked in the U.S. So do watch out for a general strike. It is coming, I would say, sometime in the next 6 months.
Wow. Okay. So that's a pretty ambitious timeline. You think like this is coming. We've seen some labor leaders like Sean Fain in the UAW. They've called their shot on May 1st, 2028.
Yeah.
But that's still several years away. You're saying that you feel like the energy is there now.
I think because you can always have a practice one, right?
I see what you're saying. So the practicality of a general strike, that is something that takes an immense amount of organizing power. To be able to execute that in 6 months, is that realistic?
Yeah, so it is optimistic for sure. It may not even be realistic, but we do have to have a starting point, right? JT, what I would say is that it's okay to have lots of practice general strikes before you get to the whopper, right? I'm A-okay with that, because the more the merrier and the more powerful they become.
What would you want a general strike to try and win? Like, it has to be around some sort of core motivating principle.
Right. There has to be an objective. Yeah.
What do you see the objective as being?
I think the objectives are very clear, is that remove the oligarchy. So all of these large companies that are gouging us right now, they have to have regulations, guardrails, and parameters. We have to impeach this president. We have to get rid of the Republican-led Congress, because they all are impeachable via an election, right? We can get rid of them via election. So in 2026, we can get them out. But in the general strike, a boycott is very powerful. It is very powerful. We've seen that, right? Target has now lost $30 billion, and immense amounts of foot traffic. So keep on with the boycotts, and we're building to this general strike, because unfortunately this administration is so corrupt, they only listen to money. So if you can break down the economy, and that's what we're talking about, is like breaking the economy for whatever it is, 3 days, 10 days, whatever it is, break the economy, and then they'll listen.
Where do you see Democratic leadership as fitting into a general strike? Do you see this as a way to put pressure on Democratic leadership as well to, hey, come and be as outspoken on issues like the oligarchy as you're calling out there? Do you see this as a way to change minds of more moderate Democrats as well along the way? Like, can you exert as much pressure on them?
Yeah,
through?
I think some of them that are paid off by those same companies that are oligarchies, right? I think that you'll have a tougher time with some of the paid Democrats and the corporatized Democrats. I think there are members of Congress right now that would welcome a general strike, right? So we just need to have more of them. And I think all of these practice general strikes would in fact persuade them. But there are some, let's be honest. So 89% of Congress takes corporate PAC money, 89%. 87% takes money from bully PACs, APAC, 314 Science, Democratic Majority for Israel, United Democracy Project. So all of those pro-Israel groups are the same.
So I'm going to put a pin in that, because I want to come back to that and get your perspective on the effect of that corporate PAC money.
Yep.
But I want to, just on this issue of a general strike, in your vision, what are we talking about here? A day? A week? Is it indefinite? Because what we've seen from the Trump administration thus far is, even though we've seen mass demonstrations like the No Kings protest that have been truly impressive in scale, what they achieve, that's debatable. Certainly, it hasn't stopped the Trump administration from disappearing people, from breaking apart families here in Chicagoland.
I'm going to stop you.
Yeah.
I think this would be triple what it is right now. I think this is dramatically smaller action than they thought it was. Dramatically smaller. This is horrifying. And what they're doing is absolutely immoral, first, illegal, second, and wrong on every level, and against the Constitution, right? But this would be much worse, JT. I guarantee you, had we not been protesting.
I want to move us away from hypotheticals, because even if I refuted you and said, "Oh no, it wouldn't be," you can't, you can't disprove a negative.
Right.
So I do want us to really, what I really want to get there is just like the idea of duration here.
Yeah.
Like how do you the patience of the state? Right. Donald Trump, in theory, is term limited.
Right. In theory.
In theory is term limited, so he has years that he can afford to wait and still hold on to power. How long can the general populace truly sustain a general strike?
So look at what's happened in the last 8 months, right? Is that our first time out, we got about 4 or 5 million out for the first No Kings Day. Second one was another million more. They're saying now that we're going to triple that for No Kings Day on October 18th. More and more people are joining the action, right? And so, again, I can't stress enough, it is the aggregation and the frequency and the consistency. It's like a good diet. And then ultimately you get results. And it is not fast, folks. I'm just here to tell you it's not fast, but it does work.
We also see that in strikes. I mean, strikes, the longer they go on, the more they tend to favor management, because the workers themselves in individual strikes, they start to run, like the grocery bill comes due, rent comes due. Right now in the United States, we're seeing spikes of foreclosures, people living in RVs. We're seeing a huge concentration of wealth. We're expecting our first trillionaires in the world here in just the next few years. When you're seeing all of that resources, when you're seeing that disparity of the haves and the have-nots, and you've got the have-nots trying to resist the haves, how long can that populace truly sustain itself in a general strike?
This is what I say, and everybody has got to do what they feel is right for themselves and their family, right? So you do need to get a paycheck and go to work every day. But whatever you contribute is a contribution, right? So I know that every Friday morning for 3 hours, I'm going to be out here. If you can do just that per week, or if you can do 1 hour of working with Indivisible, one of the activist groups, to send out letters or emails or whatever you can do it. So all of those people that have been priced out of their homes and are now living in RVs or worse, under a bridge somewhere. Those unhoused folks, they can come join us, right? And we'll have welcome arms for them. So whatever your situation is and whatever you can do, join us and be part of it. And it will take a long time. I wish I could say, oh gosh, we just need 3 months of your time. Mm-hmm. It could be 4 years. But here's what I tell you. Here's my prediction. Is I think we're going to get between 30 and 40 seats in the House. I do.
Meaning Democrats will pick up.
Democrats will pick up in the House 30 or 40 seats. That means we have a lot of power. I think we have a 50-50 shot at the Senate right now. The numbers keep getting better. So I'm a freak about spreadsheets and numbers, and we keep getting better and better. So I think we have a 50-50 shot. Now, because Democrats are Democrats, we can screw it up real fast. I'm just being honest.
Demonstrated that ability. And I want to talk about the potential for screwing up the government shutdown now here in just a moment, but I do want to, again, just reset people. Mm-hmm. We're here with former Congresswoman Marie Newman, if you're just joining us. She represents she did represent the Chicago, part of the Chicagoland area in Congress, was elected in 2020, served 1 term there. And I wanted to get some of that insight that you have as a member of Congress. You brought up the sheer number of members of Congress who take corporate PAC money. Right. And I forget the percentage that you quoted.
89% of Congress takes corporate PAC money.
Vast majority.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
When you were in Congress, did you ever see that? Like, is it as direct as people imagine it? Yeah. Where somebody is like, I took a check from so-and-so, from this corporate PAC, and so now I'm going to vote on this issue in this way. Does it work? Is it that much of quid pro quo?
Let me just, and I'll talk about a corporate PAC in a minute, but I'll tell you the power of a special interest like the Bully PAC, which are the far-right pro-Israel PACs. I have seen now only, I think there's 20 members of Congress that will admit there's a genocide going on in Gaza. Only 20 members. And they're folks that don't take far-right Israel money. The rest of them can't even use the word genocide because those far-right PACs, let me enumerate them, AIPAC, Democratic Majority for Israel, United Democracy Project, 314 Science, and there's like 15 other ones. They have all received a check from one of those groups, and they cannot utter the word genocide because they like that money so well. So corporate PACs, right, is that I've seen members of Congress go in and say they're a climate hawk, and then their first year, they take $500,000 from big oil, $500K.
Do you want to name any names there?
No, I don't want to humiliate anyone, but it's true.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
But something that you've seen from that time in Congress. I had started before we had we saw that unfortunate just all those people being brought here into the ICE facility. I've been setting you up to talk about January 6th a little bit, which was one of your first days in Congress, and I wanted to compare and contrast the way the insurrection at the Capitol and the way the rioters who forced their way into the Capitol that day were treated versus how the peaceful demonstrators out here outside of the Broadview ICE facility have been treated. Right. Can you give me that compare, contrast? What are the differences that you have seen, considering you have been here for both?
Right.
And what do you attribute the difference to?
So I'll tell you, I want to highlight one similarity between the protest at the Capitol on January 6th, which was a bona fide riot, and then these peaceful protests that are out here. In both instances, there was a party that was attacking the police, and it was on the other side of the fence, if you will. So on January 6th, these MAGA protesters were beating up the police. Here, the DHS, which are the MAGA people, Trump's henchmen, are beating up the police when they're trying to protect everybody. They're just trying to do their job. So,
and you're just to give people the context there. She's referencing the fact that the police, the Broadview City Police here, have been hit with pepper bullets and have been tear gassed themselves by the DHS officers here.
And as we know, on January 6th, there were policemen that lost their lives that day, that were maimed. 300 casualties that day. There was a wide variety of injuries. So let's start there. Now, in terms of January 6th itself. That day, we did not expect how violent those people would be. When I saw on my TV screens in my office that they were climbing the walls and throwing things, and then I found out that they had arms, weapons surrounding the campus, the Capitol campus, that were in big trunks hidden away, it was a very scary day, right? I'll tell you the story of when I got hustled away to my office. So that day we were certifying the election, which means that all members vote on every state, and you do it individually, right? And it was COVID, and it was taking longer. About 2:30 in the afternoon, we started at 2:30 in the afternoon, and I was noticing it was getting bigger and scarier outside. Believe me, I did. My family was very nervous. My friends were nervous. Everybody's calling and crying and blah, 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 right? So I'm coming out of the Capitol, and then there are these long tunnels that are about 1.5 miles long that go to people's offices, right? I got there, and someone screams, and I was by myself in the hallway, and I just hear one of the Capitol Police say, "Ma'am, we got to go." And he hustles up to me, and he said, "Do you need to take your shoes off, because we have to move fast?" And I was like, "Let's go," you know. So we ran for about 1.5 miles. When he had to turn away and go to another group, he said, "Throw some furniture across the door and get in your office and stay there." That's how scary that day was. They were not only were they not prepared, but they had no idea how vicious and dangerous the MAGA protesters would be that day.
Have the protesters here outside the Broadview ICE facility, they made you feel unsafe at all?
So in stark contrast, lots of hugs when I get here, lots of sunshine, music, kind people, trying to talk to the poor people that are being detained. We're not doing anything wrong. There's nothing illegal happening. And yet, let's look at that fence, guys. That's not dissimilar to the fences that were around the Capitol. And so I have to tell you, this is unnecessary. This is unnecessary. There's no reason to have these fences up. But probably these ICE agents don't like being yelled at. I wouldn't like it either. So, by the way, don't have that job then. Don't take that job.
So I want us to start bringing things to a close here. We've already gone longer than I had told you that we would, but I wanted to start bringing things to a close by talking about the government shutdown that we are now in the midst of right now, and what Democrat. And I'm going to have you we're just going to reposition a little bit here, so we're actually so the people at home can actually see us. But yeah, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the government shutdown, how it can be leveraged right now to maybe help the people of the Chicagoland area, to help people who are being victimized by ICE right now. Right now, we see Democrats holding the line on subsidies for the ACA, and some funding along those lines and eligibilities and such. Is that big enough? Is that bold enough of a vision to actually win and galvanize public opinion around?
You know what is most important in this situation is to have one thing and hammer it. I'm just telling you in the spirit of negotiation, and what works is have one thing and hammer it, because they're never going to reverse the taking away of Medicaid from 17 million people. They'll never do that because they're cruel and ghouls. They don't care. What will happen, and this is my prediction, is that the letters from the major insurance carriers, where they're going to have to tell all of their policyholders, hey, your prices are going to go up between 50 and 100%. Those start on October 1st. So let's say that we go that long. We go, or started today, rather. So if they start receiving those, I think that Republicans are going to get a lot of responses from their supporters, and I think we're going to have extra leverage.
So why though why focus on the loss of a benefit like Medicaid or the going up of insurance premiums rather than picking a big, bold policy that we've seen as being very popular, something like a universal jobs guarantee or Medicare for all, something along those lines, something that we know polls incredibly well, that unites people across the political spectrum. Just as a single anecdote, we've run into some Trump supporters out here outside of the Broadview ICE facility. They've come up and they've talked to us about what's going on, saying that they support the raids and the deportations here in the Chicagoland area. But the place where they find agreement with us, is, or the common ground we always find, is on the idea of oligarchy, of the corporations and a few rich people controlling so much of this nation's wealth, of this nation's levers of power. Why is that not the enemy that Democrats are picking in this moment, and maybe should they?
That is our enemy, and that should be used in every other negotiation. In government shutdowns, it is about their budget that exists right now. That budget already run through, so we're negotiating on the budget. We are not negotiating on the future of America.
Is that how the average American understands it, though?
No, they do not. And I get that, but I probably wouldn't have understood it 15 years ago. I wouldn't have understood it before I got into politics professionally. So I will tell you is that we should be doing all that. By the way, as edification and validation, when I was elected, I had people that voted for Trump and me because I believed that corporations owned way too much and billionaires owned too much. They voted me in for that reason, Trump supporters. So if you can believe that cohort. So I believe it exists and we do have to address it. But right now, you have to do the best practices in negotiating. And that is negotiate in what is in that bill. Because that's what you're arguing about. You're absolutely right. We need to get control of this oligarchy as soon as possible. That is the next step.
I'm worried that this next question frames you as just a blanket defender of the Democratic Party. So feel free to push back on this framing how you want. But is the Democratic Party offering a coherent vision for people to vote for right now?
No.
I get that there's a lot of opposition to the Trump administration. All right, I'll stop talking. What should the Democratic vision be right now?
So you just said the first plank that we should all be talking about. Figure out what everybody wants. So it doesn't matter if you're a MAGA supporter or you're an independent or you're a Democrat or you're a libertarian. Everybody convenes in one place. If you can picture it as a Venn diagram, that place where we all agree is that we don't want an oligarchy and we don't want billionaires running our world. So start there. That should be your first plank. Medicare for all. Actually, about 40% of Republicans want Medicare for all. That's health care for all, right? And then unrigging this economy for everybody, which is part of number one, but separate too, because it has to do with the jobs and fair wages and all those things, right? And then come to a place with immigration where we stick to our values and our principles and put people through the process, but expedite their ability to be a citizen. I do believe that at some point folks should work towards citizenship. Not everybody, it's not for everybody's lifestyle, but I also believe we should make it easy to be a citizen. It should not be hard to be a citizen. So immigration, education. But those top three are affordability, number one, and that has to do with the oligarchy because the oligarchy makes it unaffordable to live here. Healthcare for all, unrigging the rest of the economy, and making sure that we protect our neighbors and allow people that are here, that have come here from another nation, to live here freely and also become a citizen and make it easy to become a citizen.
I often hear, we often see these news stories that are Republicans on background telling reporters, like, without giving their names, these Republican elected officials being like, oh, I don't support what Trump is doing, but I can't speak out on it because of the political realities. I'm curious if the same thing exists on the Democratic side. In your time in office, did you see any Democrats who were like, I would love to support Medicare for all, but I just feel like I can't because of like some of the corporate influence that I'm under?
Oh no, some of them were very blunt, and it made me disgusted. Is that they would say, "Look, I think in premise that it's great, but then all the insurance employees lose their jobs." Well, that's not untrue. They would move over to the system. The number of employees is still going to be needed. It will just be governed by a proper body that should be. By the way, we had nonprofit healthcare insurance for all of time until the Reagan years. We had it forever. It was nonprofit. Blue Cross Blue Shield was a nonprofit. So we do need to go back to a place where a single payer is governing over this.
I want to end here by talking about like where your faith lies right now.
Yeah.
Let's start with Democratic leadership in Congress. Schumer, Jeffries. Do you have faith in them to be able to effectively carry out this government shutdown in a way that actually wins concessions for working people?
Well, they made the biggest, first, best step, right? Is that they did not roll over and they held the line, right? So that's a good sign. We are going to hold them accountable. I mean, if anybody reads my Substack, you know I'm holding them accountable every day, right? Feet to the fire dramatically. So I am going to make that clear. We have one good step. Now they have to have another good day. And now they have to have a plan. And then we have to win in 26. And that means they've got to start listening to voters. Right now, they are not listening to voters. They say they understand affordability. They do not. You know why? Because they don't have the lived experience. So that's why I ran originally, by the way. I didn't have health care for 4 years in my 20s. I had to do 3 jobs frequently up until my mid-30s, right? So, like, I get the affordability issue. They, unfortunately, many of them do not.
And then is the Democratic Party an effective institution for advocating for the needs of working people right now?
I don't think they're good communicators. I think there are some great legislators in there that have great ideas.
Want to call out a few?
Yeah, sure. Ro Khanna, who is a brilliant leader, he's the one that's requiring the Epstein files to be released, along with the Republican Thomas Massey. And Pramila Jayapal just put together the stock ban bill. Ro Khanna also has a bill that takes away all the corruption out of super PACs and the like, and big donors. And Deli Ramirez is a big fighter on the problem we have right here, which is immigration. So there's a long list of folks that are fighters. I think AOC is doing a good job. Bernie's doing a good job. Jasmine Crockett is an absolute beast on the committees, and you need that. You need to be a badass at the committee level.
Okay, so I want to close it by bringing everything full circle here, because we've gotten away from what we're actually standing in front of here with all of these political discussions.
Right.
But the Democratic Party right now, Leader Schumer, Leader Jeffries, is there anything that they can be doing with their power right now to help the folks here in Broadview, Illinois, and the Chicagoland area who are being victimized by ICE, but not just here in Chicago, across the country and the other cities where we've seen this deployment, including their own constituents in New York?
Right.
What can and should they be doing right now with their power?
A bunch of things. So every time that we are giving DHS more power, they should have been doing this all the way along, by the way, JT. Every time there is a bill up that gives DHS power or money, you sit it out, you don't show up, you create a procedural system so you can do motion to adjourn and not show up. Whatever you can do to gum up the wheels procedurally on the floor, they should be doing that. They should be out here at these protests, and they should be bugging the Trump administration and the White House every day for meetings and drag them down. The state AGs have a great model going. They keep suing the administration. There should be a lawsuit every time that the ICE do something illegal. Every single time in every single state.
Former Congresswoman Marie Newman, who I've been talking to here outside of the Broadview, Illinois ICE facility about so many things. We talked about a lot of topics, and we went far over time. You've spoken to me for an hour now. I really appreciate the time this afternoon.
All right. Well, and thank you for being out here. By the way, quick pitch, independent media, cover them and also support them, which means money, folks.
She couldn't have said it any better herself, but I'll reiterate just because it's my job to do so. We've been here on the ground in Chicago for a week. Our cameraman, John, has been tear gassed by DHS. We've been here showcasing the voices of protesters, of Chicagoland area residents who have been victimized by ICE, who say that their communities do not feel as safe as before ICE was here. And we're telling these stories that traditional media is not telling. So if you want to see more interviews like this, more on-the-ground coverage like this, like we're doing right now live outside of this Broadview, Illinois ICE facility, if you want these live on the grounds, please, on the ground looks rather, please, a few dollars a month, a few cents a day keeps us doing this very important work. We are so immensely appreciative of every single donation that we get, and for anybody who has supported us through this live stream, I thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Again, former Congresswoman Marie Newman.
Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning in.
If you wanted the readouts, Marie, if you're welcome to stay or go.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have readouts, and then I'll show some of the...
I'm going to hustle, guys. So, GT, it was a pleasure, and good luck with everything, and stay safe, okay?
Let's grab your microphone before you walk away.
Yeah. I could steal it.
Yeah. I've been waiting for us to get the readouts to be able to to be able to give thanks to all of you who have been supporting us here through the channel. I'm waiting on our producer Colin to send that through to me so that I can get that information and read them out for you. But I'll step to the side here and we'll just show what it looks like on the ground right now here outside of the ICE facility in Broadview, Illinois, where if you were just joining us a few minutes ago, we saw ICE bring people in handcuffs and in zip ties. Their wrists were bound in front of them. It produced quite the reaction from this small group of demonstrators who keep vigil out here day and night, documenting everything that they see from this ICE facility. The ICE officers themselves had their faces covered, but they paraded the people who they had taken prisoner. Paraded them no problem in front of everybody here, and just goes to show how much impunity ICE feels like it can act with right now. You are seeing this live look through the fence. Here in Broadview, Illinois, an illegally erected fence. The village of Broadview has taken legal action to try and get this fence taken down. They say that it is a safety hazard. The fire chief, police chief, mayor, all speaking out again on this issue just yesterday, being quite forceful, saying that this fence needs to come down because of the hazard it poses to the community, because fire trucks, ambulance service cannot get through. The police chief has been quite outspoken on the danger to residents and also his officers who have been themselves victimized by police, the victims of police brutality, except this time at the hands of DHS authorities who fired tear gas and pepper balls that also struck officers. We've also seen them fire rubber bullets as well.
They shoot rubber bullets from the roof there.
Yeah, they shoot rubber bullets off the top of that roof. If you see that light that's on the corner of the building, many times they have officers stationed up there with weapons that they are firing down into the crowd. The protesters themselves have expressed a lot of frustration with when they are targeted. They feel like it is it's somewhat random, that they don't feel like there's a clear set of rules for them to follow before they are being aggressed by ICE officers out here. So I do want to give a shout out to some of our viewers who have supported us here through Super Chats. We have Jennifer West, who was, reiterating the importance of the No Kings nationwide protest on October 18th at nokings.org, where these demonstrations are being organized across the country. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Suzanne Casey, who said this is absolutely wrong, blocking the road with this illegal fence that we have been continuously showing you here. And then we also have new YouTube members: Luke Schneider, Is It Over Yet?, Dion, Benninghoven, and then through the website, Ed. Thank you all so very much for supporting us. For Status Coup live on the ground in Broadview, Illinois, I'm JT Cestkowski. Thank you for joining us, and we will continue to bring you these live on the ground reports thanks to your support.